What's going on, guys? Thank you for clicking on the video, and please drop this one a like if it helps you at all. This is long overdue. I told you all that I would do a video on my opinions of home ownership a long time ago after I sold my house, but then I moved to Austin, started this new job, things just got a little bit crazy. So I figured let's talk about that today, and I wanted to discuss why, in my opinion, buying a home was not the right idea, and also just my opinions on home ownership in general, and why I believe that if you're young and single, you should hold off from buying a house. So the only reason that I bought a house when I was 22 years old is because I grew up thinking that was the all-American dream. That was the best financial decision, so I was told, and that's just what you were supposed to do. And I was thinking, I was doing great. I was headed in the right direction, so I went looking for houses. I found this one that I thought was my dream home.
All right, guys. What do you think? So far, so good.
3-car garage. 2 stories, finished basement, had a man cave, everything I wanted. I put a gym in the basement, I put a gym in the garage, and I was just thinking like, this is it, man. I made it. But my number one criticism of owning a home is that it did not allow me to do the things that I wanted to do. And at the time, that was make YouTube videos, because if I wasn't at work, I had a very limited amount of time to get things done. So anytime that the house took up that time, it took me away from doing the thing that I wanted to do most. And owning a home really brought me no satisfaction. It didn't bring me anything of value other than the house itself, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But when you own a house, there is a lot of upkeep. There are a lot of things that you have to do that aren't necessarily the most exciting, especially during the summer. A lot of yard work. I had a ½ acre, and if you guys are OGs to the channel, you remember my first summer living there, maybe my first 2 summers, where every Saturday and Sunday I would just have to be out in the yard doing things, and I would always talk about, I want to go out and make content, but I can't because I have to attend to this house. Now granted, I was 22 years old, I was living in a 3,000 square foot house by myself. Is that a smart decision? Absolutely not. So obviously right off the bat, I could have made a better decision buying a smaller home, or maybe even buying a condo, but I'm just giving you guys my experience here. So at the end of the day, it just became more of a liability than anything, and it weighed on my mind a lot. Like anytime I had to travel, I was thinking about the house during the winter. What if the pipes freeze? What if something goes wrong and I'm not there? If you're owning a house by yourself, it is a lot of responsibility, and you don't have anyone to share some of those burdens with when things break. And for me, I am not a handyman at all, so I always had to hire someone, which added up very quick.
Working outside and water starts shooting out of the wall, and just, I'm not gonna bore you guys with all the details, but I had to shut all my water off. I'm waiting for a plumber to come, and really, really sucks.
In my early 20s, I know that I would have been happier not owning the house, and I found that out for sure when I decided to sell it. I moved into that condo, if you guys remember, down there in Mount Lookout, and I loved that thing. It was like the weight of the world had been lifted. I did own the house, and I could talk about that in a whole separate video. All of the struggles selling that thing. It fell through 4 times.
I hope in 10 years I can look back on this footage and genuinely laugh.
So maybe it sounds like I'm just lazy or irresponsible, but what it really came down to is it took me away from going out to hang out with my friends, going out and traveling more. It took me away from this YouTube channel or creating exciting content. If you guys remember, every video I ever made was in my house because that's where I was all the time. So we've got a chocolate peanut butter banana inside of a hot dog bun, and can't talk about this topic without getting into the financial aspects of it, because that's what everyone says. They say the best financial move is to buy a house and not throw your money away in rent. So I put 20% down on my house, which is the best idea I believe, because if you don't, if you put less of a percent down, you're gonna have to pay more in interest. Why didn't I put more down? And there's probably some conflicting opinions about this. The reason I did not put more than 20% is because my interest rate was right about, it's like 3% something, a very, very low interest rate. My money in the bank is making more than 3%. I shouldn't say money in the bank. My money in my investments are making more than 3%. So let's average this out over the last about 5 years. I made probably closer to 12% when I will go back and look at my statements. A lot of different things going on there, but not to bore you with the details. So it didn't make sense for me to pull out money that was making 12% to pay down an interest rate of 4%, if that makes sense. And my advisor had to kind of get on me about this because I was just like, you know what, let's make more payments, because a lot of people are tempted, let's make additional house payments, pay off the house early, and I was tempted to do that as well. I had a 30-year mortgage, but what it kept getting back to was, hey, the money is growing at a more rapid pace than the percentage that you're borrowing, so just keep it at that. But when you look at it, your principal payment is very, very low, especially in the beginning. I think I owned my house for 3 years, and you'll notice that almost everything you're paying is interest and property taxes. So you're not really getting a whole lot of equity. When I went to sell my house, obviously I got my down payment back, but I didn't really make all that money that everyone was convincing me that I was going to make. And I mean, it looks good on paper, right? And this is what people don't tell you. I sold my house for $20,000 more than I bought it for. Sounds great, right? Well, no, because after you pay the realtor 6%, do 6% of $295,000 in selling price, you can see that eats away into any profit that I would have made. So financially, it was kind of neutral, right? I didn't really make any money. So depending on how you look at it, some would say, well, it's almost like you live for free. Not really, because you gotta think about all the variable expenses that go into owning a home. You have to furnish it, you have to do all of these things that I had no passion for. Do you guys remember the ugly blinds that I had in my house the whole time that I lived there? Because it just made me so agitated thinking about going and buying things for a house. I just didn't enjoy it. And I think that's what's much more important than the financial aspect of it. It was just something that I didn't have any desire to do. And I'm a very simple man. I'm always telling you guys, I just do what makes me happy. And buying that house most definitely did not. So let me get into my recommendations. If you are young, early 20s, especially teenage years, and you're not married, don't buy a house. I shouldn't say that. I would not recommend buying a house. I can tell you that I like renting a lot more, because when something goes wrong, I make a phone call, someone comes to fix it. It's great. If I just want to get up and move across town, I can do that. Maybe I don't want to live in North Austin. Maybe I want to go live downtown. Or when I was in Cincinnati, I loved moving closer to the city. That was so much fun, and I loved that little condo. That was my favorite place that I ever lived. So don't feel forced to buy a home just because people are telling you it's a great idea. Now, I'm in a much different position in life now than I was back then, right? So I'm probably not that far away from buying another home, hopefully in the near future. And that's gonna be a lot different, because it's not just gonna be me and a house, and it's actually going to be a home, and all that decoration and stuff that I don't like, guess what? Megan will like a lot more. So that's really all that matters to me. So it's one of those things that I was young, dumb, didn't really think it all the way through. So the purpose of this was just to tell you guys, I know that everyone says you should, but don't be afraid to challenge that thought. So let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Have you had any experience being a homeowner? If so, what did you think about it? A lot of you, I'm sure, think that I'm dead wrong, which is completely fine. I'm sure there's some people that bought their house in the early 20s and now it's worth 4 times as much as they paid for it, and they can retire on it if they want, especially if you bought a house in Austin back in the day. But these are just my thoughts and my opinions. I would love to know your comments down below. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch. You could have been doing anything in the entire world, and you chose to like this video. That's pretty awesome. please give it a like, and I look forward to talking to you guys next time. Oh, and by the way, if this is titled something like owning a house ruined my life or something like that, it's the internet, this is YouTube, you have to be dramatic to try to get people to watch the video, but it did ruin my quality of life in a sense. Obviously, it didn't like bankrupt me or just take me down for good, but that's just the explanation behind that, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me there.